Welcome to today's deep dive. We are so incredibly glad you're here with us.
Yeah, I am really excited for this one. We have a lot of intense material to get through today.
We really do. Today, we are immersing ourselves in the gripping, frankly visceral world of the novel King of Ashes by S A Cosby.
It is quite a ride.
It is. We've got a stack of excerpts from the source material, and we are going on a journey that explores some deeply unsettling corners of the human psyche.
Right, and to start off, we are heading to a decaying Virginia industrial town called Jefferson Run.
Or, as the locals and our protagonists sometimes call it, Jefferson got the runs.
Yeah, that nickname really tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it?
It paints a picture.
It's a town suffering from severe economic stagnation. It's one of those places that feels like a patient on life support, almost too stubborn to realize the golden era of industry has already passed it by.
Exactly. And our central premise revolves around a man named Roman Carruthers. Roman is this slick, highly successful financial advisor living the high life down in Atlanta.
He's done very well for himself.
He has. He has essentially built this massive wall of success between himself and his gritty hometown. But then a single phone call pulls him right back.
Just one call?
His father is nearly killed in a highly suspicious accident, and Roman discovers his family is trapped in a lethal debt to a local gang.
Which is a terrifying situation to walk into.
Totally. The mission of this deep dive is to explore the collision of high-level corporate finance, brutal street justice, and the inescapable gravitational pull of family trauma. So, okay, let's unpack this.
It's just an incredible setup. And to truly grasp what is happening here, we have to set the thematic stage. Because while the surface of this text reads like a fast-paced crime thriller, beneath that, it functions as a profound study of how unresolved grief shapes our identity.
And how it dictates our choices.
Exactly. The Carruthers family operates under a suffocating shadow. 19 years ago, the mother, Bonita, vanished without a trace after a shift to the hospital.
Right. Her car was just found abandoned by the train tracks.
Yeah.
It's the kind of open wound that a family never really heals from.
Precisely. That disappearance left behind a toxic legacy of guilt, resentment, and local rumor. I mean, people in town actually whisper that the father, Keith, might have killed her because she was allegedly having an affair.
Wow, just living with that whisper campaign for 2 decades.
And Keith never recovered emotionally. He poured his entire soul into building the family business, which is a crematory. And he adopted a chilling, deeply nihilistic family motto.
Everything burns.
Everything burns. That philosophy, the idea that relationships, love, and people all eventually turn to ash, it infects his children in very different ways.
I want you to imagine that dynamic for a second. Just put yourself in those shoes. You build a lucrative, highly curated life for yourself in a major city. You've escaped. You have won the game of upward mobility.
You're out.
Yeah, you're out. And then one phone call threatens to drag you right back into the exact nightmare you spent your entire adulthood trying to outrun. That is where we meet Roman.
And Roman's current life is a stark contrast to where he came from.
It really is. Reading the text, I was struck by the specific details of his wealth. He drives a 2012 Porsche. He manages millions for Atlanta's elite athletes, influencers, wealthy executives.
He's swimming to the big fish.
He is. He even wears these tailored blue giallo shirts, but, and I love this detail, he purposefully has them designed with a shorter left sleeve.
Right, just to constantly show off a $12,000 Rolex.
It's wild.
Which is a brilliant detail from the author. It highlights how much Roman needs the external world to validate his success. He is wearing his net worth like armor.
But underneath that expensive armor, the text reveals he is completely broken. I noticed this highly guarded secret about his coping mechanism.
The scene in Buckhead.
Yes. Before he flies back to Virginia to see his injured father, he visits a dominatrix in an upscale Buckhead neighborhood named Miss Delicate.
And he isn't there for pleasure.
Not at all. He pays her to strike him with a leather cat-o'-nine-tails while she calls him a worthless son. I mean, why go to such an extreme physical length?
What's fascinating here is how Roman's wealth operates on 2 entirely different levels. On the surface, it is a shield. It proves to society that he is powerful and untouchable.
Right.
But psychologically, he uses that same wealth to fund his own penance. Self-flagellation is an ancient concept, paying in physical pain to absolve your perceived sins. Roman feels entirely responsible for failing to stop his mother from disappearing when he was 16.
So he's essentially recreating the powerlessness he felt as a teenager.
Exactly. The deeper insight here is about class and trauma. The story deconstructs the myth of upward mobility. You can change your tax bracket, you can buy the Rolex, but you cannot simply out-earn your trauma.
That is a staggering way to look at it. He is a financial wizard who is emotionally bankrupt. So he finishes this punishing session and his phone rings. It's a Fur Elise ringtone.
Which signals it's his sister, Neve.
Yeah. And she brings the devastating news that their stoic, emotionally distant father is in a coma. His van was hit by a train under highly suspicious circumstances.
So Roman rushes back to Jefferson Run.
Right. And what kind of family dynamic is waiting for him when he walks through those doors?
He walks into a structure that is actively collapsing. His sister Neve is breaking under the sheer physical and emotional weight of running the crematory entirely by herself.
Just the physical toll of that job.
It's immense. Her fingers are numb from the constant heat of the ovens. She is chain-smoking Newports to cope with the stress, and she's entangled in a cynical affair with a married local cop named Chauncey.
She has essentially sacrificed her own life to assume the role of the mother they lost.
Exactly. And then you have the youngest brother, Dante.
Dante is the baby of the family, and his situation seems even more dire. The text notes he is spiraling into severe drug addiction, mixing all sorts of substances.
Yeah, he's in a really dark place.
But he also has this desperate craving to step out of his father's overbearing shadow. He wants to be his own man.
And that desire for independence, combined with his addiction, creates a lethal cocktail. Dante is using substances to numb his reality, but he also decides he wants to be a player in the local underworld.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Dante makes a catastrophic miscalculation.
Massive.
He and his friend Getty decide they're going to bypass the street-level hustle and become major drug dealers overnight. They go to the local gang, the Black Baron Boys, or the BBB, and they take a massive front of drugs.
$300,000 worth.
Right, $300,000 worth of Molly and heroin. For anyone who might not know the mechanics of the street trade, what does taking a front actually mean in this context?
A front means taking product on credit. The gang supplies the drugs with the expectation that Dante and Getty will sell them and return a heavily marked up profit by a very specific deadline.
So it's a loan?
It is a high-interest loan where the collateral is your life. And to understand the gravity of this mistake, we have to define the substances and the suppliers. Molly is a strength name for MDMA, known for producing euphoria, while heroin is a highly addictive opioid.
Moving that volume of product requires a sophisticated, ruthless network.
Yes, Dante and Getty are complete amateurs taking a loan from apex predators.
And the text paints these gang leaders, the brothers Torrent and Tranquil Gilchrist, as utterly terrifying. There is this one anecdote about a rival gang member from Richmond that absolutely stopped me in my tracks.
The restaurant incident.
Yes. Can you explain how these brothers operate?
They rule Jefferson Run through sheer performative terror. The anecdote you mentioned involves a rival who tried to move in on their territory and casually knocked over Torrent's plate of food at a restaurant.
A minor slight, relatively speaking.
But in their world, any disrespect must be met with overwhelming force. To send a message, Torrent had a full Southern meal delivered to the rival's family: cornbread, mac and cheese, and a plate of chitterlings.
And the detail hid her in the food.
Hidden at the bottom of the chitterlings was a page torn from the Quran. Torrent had murdered the rival and served his intestines to the man's own family.
It is deeply unsettling. And Dante, our naive, addicted younger brother, is now in massive debt to these men because things go sideways immediately.
Right away.
Getty and Dante's girlfriend, Cassidy, end up partying with the supply. They consume the heroin, Getty claims he was robbed of the Molly, and the entire $300,000 investment just vanishes.
Gone.
So Roman finds out his brother is a dead man walking. But Roman, being this high-powered financial advisor, thinks he can step in and handle it.
He thinks he can manage them.
He puts on his crisp, white button-down shirt, his khakis, straps on that $12,000 Rolex, and brings $200,000 in emergency cash. He sets up a meeting with Torrent and Tranquil at the crematory.
Which is such a bizarre clash of worlds.
He offers the cash as a down payment, proposes a monthly installment plan, and even offers them his high-finance wealth management services. Isn't that incredibly naive for someone so conventionally smart?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where Roman makes a near-fatal strategic error. He views the Gilchrist brothers as just another set of corporate CEOs. He assumes that street logic maps perfectly onto Wall Street logic.
How do those two logics differ?
Well, in corporate finance, greed and the bottom line are the primary drivers. A Wall Street executive will swallow their pride if it means securing a lucrative deal. But in the street economy, especially for a gang like the Black Baron Boys, respect, dominance, and fear are the true currencies.
So Roman's approach was essentially insulting them.
Exactly. By showing up in tailored clothes, offering a payment plan, and speaking to them like they are unsophisticated businessmen who need his help, Roman is inadvertently challenging their authority. He is signaling that he thinks he is smarter and better than they are. For leaders who maintain their empire through absolute fear, accepting Roman's terms would make them look weak.
And they demonstrate their power in the most brutal way imaginable. The outcome of this supposed negotiation is visceral. Tranquil, the quieter of the two brothers, strikes Roman so fast he doesn't even see it coming.
He breaks his teeth.
Yeah, he shoves a nickel-plated gun into Roman's mouth and breaks 4 of his front teeth against the metal barrel. Roman is left writhing on the concrete floor, completely helpless, and while Roman is incapacitated, Torrent turns his attention to Dante.
He grabs the garden shears.
He grabs a pair of heavy garden shears off the wall, severs Dante's pinky finger, and stomps on the severed digit.
It is a calculated act of spectacular violence. They are stripping Roman of his perceived superiority. They are showing him that his money, his tailored shirts, his Ivy League intellect, none of it holds any weight in their domain.
Put yourself in Roman's incredibly expensive shoes for a second. What do you do when your greatest asset, your intellect and negotiation power, is rendered entirely useless by raw violence? You are tasting gun oil in your own blood, watching your brother scream in agony. What is your next move?
You have to offer them something money can't buy.
Right. For Roman, the answer is a desperate pivot to save their lives. Spitting out pieces of his broken teeth, Roman looks at these killers and promises them the moon. He swears he will triple the remaining debt in a single month using his financial skills. But he knows money isn't enough anymore. He needs to offer them a unique service.
A very dark service.
So he makes a devil's bargain. He gives the Black Baron Boys full, unrestricted access to the Carruthers family crematory to make their enemies disappear. No DNA, no fingerprints, completely untraceable.
It is a tragic irony. Keith Carruthers' nihilistic worldview, the idea that everything burns, transforms from a depressing family motto into Roman's literal tactic for survival.
Yeah.
And the source text does not shy away from the grim reality of this facility. This is not a sterile, peaceful environment. It is an industrial furnace.
Can you break down the mechanics of how this erasure actually works? Because the author goes into such intense detail.
When a body is brought in, it is placed in a heavy waxed cardboard box. It is loaded onto a hydraulic scissor lift in an oven room where the ambient temperature routinely exceeds 100 degrees.
Just sweltering heat.
The body is pushed into a roaring inferno. Over the course of about 2 hours, the intense heat consumes all organic matter. What remains drops through a grate into an ash pan. Those bone fragments are then processed by an electric grinder until they are reduced to about 6 pounds of gravel-like dust. It is total, undeniable erasure.
And Torrent and Tranquil agree to this arrangement, but they are smart enough not to just take Roman at his word. They decide to test his loyalty, and they do it in a truly twisted fashion.
The test at the crematory.
A few nights later, the gang arrives at the crematory with 2 figures wearing pillowcases over their heads. When the enforcers remove the hoods, Roman realizes they have not brought corpses. They have brought living people.
Is Getty and Cassidy.
Right. It is Dante's friend Getty, the one who actually stole the drugs and lied about it, and Getty's innocent girlfriend Cassidy. They are bound in duct tape, battered, but alive.
This represents the moral event horizon for Roman, a boundary he crosses from which he can never return. The gang enforcer, a man named Splutty, presents Roman with an impossible choice. Roman must burn these people, or the gang will execute Roman and Dante on the spot.
Roman makes a calculated, horrifying decision. To save his brother and to spare the innocent girlfriend, Roman decides Getty has to die. He actually tells Dante, "It's him or us. I choose us."
It's chilling.
Roman grabs Getty, beats him unconscious with his bare hands, tapes the cardboard cremation box shut around him, pushes him into the oven, and hits the ignition. The sensory details the author uses are haunting. Roman hears thunderous kicking against the metal doors. He hears screams that seem to stretch on for hours, realizing the heat must have melted the duct tape off Getty's mouth.
It is a profound psychological descent. And the chaos escalates because Splutty, the gang enforcer, decides he wants to eliminate Cassidy as well.
But Dante intervenes.
Yes. Dante, who is described as someone who cried as a child when his father killed a snake, sneaks up behind Splutty and crushes his skull with a ball-peen hammer. The two brothers have just committed premeditated murder.
They give Cassidy cash, tell her to disappear, and then they have to clean the blood off the floor and put Splotty's body into the second oven.
They are in so deep.
As Roman is mopping up the blood, he has this stark realization the Black Baron boys are never going to let them go. Even if Roman triples their money, the gang will just keep bleeding the family dry and using the crematory forever.
He's created a monster he can't control.
So Roman decides he has to completely change the game. He realizes he cannot fight a street war, so he brings in an outside contractor, his friend Khalil.
Khalil is a fascinating counterweight to Roman. He is a former Army Ranger turned high-end security mercenary based in Atlanta. He's the quiet professional you call when a problem needs to be surgically removed.
So Roman is a finance guy, and Khalil is a military tactician. How on earth do they plan to dismantle a heavily armed street gang without getting themselves killed in a shootout?
This is where Roman's true brilliance emerges. They design a strategy that is essentially a corporate hostile takeover fused with military counterinsurgency tactics. Roman understands a fundamental truth about criminal enterprises.
Which is?
Money is like acid. When applied in massive, sudden quantities, it burns through friendships, it dissolves long-standing loyalty, and it breeds devastating paranoia.
The text mentions Roman using his broker contact, Sasha Billings, to execute pump-and-dump cryptocurrency schemes to enrich the gang. For anyone who isn't deep into the world of crypto, how does a pump-and-dump actually work, and why does Roman use it here?
A pump-and-dump is a form of market manipulation. Roman and his broker identify a cheap, essentially worthless digital currency. They artificially inflate its value through coordinated buying and false hype. That's the pump. Roman tells Torrent and Tranquil to invest their gang's capital into this coin early. As the price skyrockets, the brothers see unimaginable paper wealth.
They feel invincible.
They do. But inevitably, the original manipulators sell off their shares at the peak. The dump, causing the price to crash and leaving late investors holding worthless assets.
But Roman ensures the gang gets out before the crash, right? Because he wants them rich.
Precisely. Roman makes them incredibly legitimately wealthy in a matter of days, and that massive sudden influx of capital acts as a distraction. The brothers become obsessed with their new portfolios and the illusion of legitimate corporate power. They let their guard down on the streets, and while they are looking at financial charts, Khalil is quietly and methodically attacking their physical stash houses.
So, what does this all mean? How does attacking stash houses while making the leaders rich solve Roman's problem?
It is about weaponizing psychology. Gangs like the Black Baron boys operate in a state of constant, low-level paranoia regarding rival crews and internal betrayals. By destroying their street-level operations while simultaneously flooding the leadership with millions of dollars, Roman creates a deadly cognitive dissonance.
Because the street soldiers are suffering while the bosses are profiting.
Exactly. The street soldiers are losing money and getting attacked, while the bosses are getting rich. Resentment builds instantly. Roman intends to make the gang tear itself apart from the inside. They will turn their guns on each other over the missing street money, completely blinded by greed.
That is strategic genius. And Roman takes the psychological warfare even further. He establishes a concept of man-mutually assured destruction regarding the missing enforcer, Splutty.
Yes. Another gang member, Yellow Boy, was at the crematory before Splutty was killed, but he left early. Roman carefully plants seeds of doubt, hinting that Yellow Boy might know more about Splutty's disappearance than he is letting on.
Pitting them against each other.
He manipulates Torrent into suspecting his own inner circle. Roman is not fighting the king directly. He's moving the pawns around the board until the king is isolated and vulnerable.
It is entirely cutthroat. Look at the incredible journey we have just charted through these source materials. We started with this slick, wealthy financial advisor trying to manage his deep-seated childhood trauma by paying a professional to punish him in a luxury apartment. And we end with that exact same man orchestrating a highly complex, lethal game of chess against a syndicate of killers.
Using cryptocurrency as bait.
And his family's industrial crematory as a literal weapon of war.
This raises an important question regarding the true nature of corruption and identity. Roman believes, with every fiber of his being, that he is executing these terrible actions for a righteous reason. He is protecting his brother, his sister, and the family's survival.
But at what cost?
That's the question. Because as the fire of the crematory consumes the evidence of his sins, as he listens to a man pounding on the door of an oven, it forces us to wonder, Did Roman become a monster to fight monsters? Or did the intense pressure simply uncover the ruthless predator that was always hiding inside him, proving that he's the true heir to a father who believed that everything burns?
That is a chilling thought, and it brings us right back to you listening to this deep dive. Think about the overarching metaphor of the story, everything burns. When you apply intense heat, whether it's the threat of violence, the lure of massive wealth, or the desperate need to protect the people you love, what parts of your own morality would melt away and what would be left in the ashes? Leave you to mull over that dark exploration of human nature on your own. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.